Is there a fish still there? Oh, jeez. Oh. There we go.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, I'm sharing my outdoor report for the month of June of what we've been up to here in the Pacific Northwest in terms of fishing, hiking, clamming, and all kinds of outdoor activities, as well as a look ahead to what's coming for the month of July. Let's check it out. So first update, salmon, steelhead, and sockeye. This year, we actually had a sockeye retention on the Columbia River, and between Chinook, sockeye, and steelhead fishing in the month of June, I would say things were okay. They weren't great, they weren't bad, some days were hit and miss. It just really depended on conditions, water levels, water temps. Some days bank fishing was pretty good. I heard steelhead and sockeye fishing from the bank was pretty good during the month when it was open for sockeye and steelhead. Had a couple friends that went out there, a couple days in a row and were able to hook into some sockeye, which was great. It was really good to have that new fishery that we could retain fish on the Columbia. Unfortunately, myself, I didn't get out to do a little bit of bank fishing on the Columbia for sockeye this summer. They just closed it down here last week, but overall, things have been okay. And in terms of salmon fishing for, say, the Willamette and the Columbia River, things have been, here or there. If you put in your time salmon fishing, you'll probably be rewarded with a nice Chinook. Again, this year's been a little bit different from a spring Chinook perspective more than others. We've had lower temperatures of weather here in the Northwest. We've had more rain in the month of June, which means the bite and the fishing for Chinook, especially in the Willamette's been a little bit different. The herring bite, and some days it's spinner bite. It's just really different day by day. The fish have been really finicky overall. But I would say is, if there's still Chinook out there in the system, you can still go target them. You're just going to have to put some time and effort to go after them, but you will be rewarded in the long haul. So another fishery that ODFW actually opened up in the middle of the June was sturgeon fishing. So there was 2 Saturdays in the middle of the month where we could retain sturgeon on the Willamette. And for those that don't know, for the longest time now, sturgeon has been catch and release only, mostly on the Columbia and on the Willamette. Well, there was 2 different Saturdays where we could retain sturgeon on the Willamette on the lower section, which was really good. That was the first opportunity since 2013 that sportsmen alike could go retain sturgeon on the lower Willamette. From a report-wise for sturgeon, things were okay both days. There was a lot of fish caught. Obviously, you had to have a very certain length of sturgeon in order for it to be a legal keeper for the boat. So for both Saturdays, the fishing was so-so in terms of keepers. We waited to see if after the first Saturday, if we could fish again on the second Saturday, and sure enough, both days were open for retention. So overall, it was okay from a sturgeon retention standpoint. We'll see if the state gives us another opportunity to fish for sturgeon in the Willamette in this year or in years to come. In terms of retention on the Columbia, that's a whole nother story. They've moved that out to September when the sturgeon aren't going to be there. For whatever reason, I'm not going to get into the politics of the decision making as to why that happened, but there's going to be additional opportunities to retain sturgeon in different areas in the Pacific Northwest. You just have to follow the regulations and what ODFW and WFW set from a regulation standpoint in order to be able to go out and chase them and retain sturgeon.
Come on, is there a fish still there? Oh, jeez. Oh. There we go.
Now for trout fishing. This is where I've been spending most of my time trying to go after trout, now trolling, as well as doing a little bit of bank fishing. So kind of playing around with some different techniques. I've gotten out on the boat with Richie a couple times. We had some early morning success with the trolling. There was the one day that the oar broke and the motor battery died and we had to row all the way back to shore. That was a heck of a story. If you haven't seen that video, check out the link above. It was like a really funny day trying to row back in with no motor. Trout fishing for the month started really hot. Richie and I took Ren out trout fishing and he caught his first Oregon trout. And on that same weekend, I went out by myself and caught my personal best trout, which was 16 inches and weighed 2 pounds. I mean, this thing was massive. And unfortunately, I didn't get it on camera, but it was an interesting day. It was a really good bite, but also that fish didn't fight like a trophy trout or that big of a trout. It wasn't a big fighter, which was interesting. But overall, the trout fishing has been good. Now, trolling wise, early morning bite where we've been for stock trout has been good. You know, your silvers, your golds, your blacks, and your white, color-wise, from a spinner or plug standpoint, have been really good. Plunking from the bank, it's been more of a hit and miss. What I would say is make sure that scent is the key. Again, I will repeat this. Scent is the key when targeting fish with power bait, worms, or other bait from the bank. And the way I say that is the water temperatures are starting to rise a little bit. Little bit of the warmer summer weather here in Oregon. Scent plays a huge role in those stock trout. So make sure you've got garlic or nightcrawler are probably my 2 cents that I would be using when you're targeting trout, especially when you're targeting stock trout in a lake, pond, or stream. Now, in terms of lake trout for big rainbows or Mackinac, fishing's been pretty good in Central Oregon. Got some really good reports that the bites have been pretty good. You know, they've had some interesting weather patterns there with some thunderstorms this month, but overall, in the central part of the state, you know, on those big lakes, the fishing's been pretty good and probably should remain consistent into July. So if that's something that you're looking forward to do in like the Bend area, you know, that's probably a good area to go target some trout and some Mackinac and some other just, you know, species of fish. Especially if you're looking for a place to get away from all the people fishing for salmon or Chinook, you know, head to Central Oregon and there's plenty of opportunities out there. Now for crabbing and clamming, let me start with crabbing first. Crabbing's been a little bit slow. I had a few friends that went for a day or so. They crabbed off the dock where they were down on the Oregon coast. They got a couple keepers. It's not really the peak crabbing season. And for this time of the year, you know, getting 1 or 2 on a trip, you know, is a success, as I would say. So if you're really into the crabbing and put your time in, you probably will be rewarded. It's just that time of the year where it's just slower than normal. So you're gonna have to put in a lot of time to get, you know, 1 or 2 crab maybe on a given day. Now for clamming, there's been really good tides in June. I wasn't able to get down to the coast to do some clamming, but it's been really good, especially for razor clamming in the areas that razor clamming has been open. Definitely worth checking out. There should be a few more openers in the next few months for Washington and Oregon. So watch the regulations and something you guys can get out there and do. Something you guys can do this summer, especially taking the kids to go dig for razor clams. It's really fun. In terms of hiking, biking, and camping, one of the things that I've been doing more recently is hiking, especially hiking with a backpack with weights around the neighborhood. We just got our draw results for big game in Oregon, and it looks like I'll be doing a lot of bow hunting for all my tags because I didn't get drawn for anything, of course, again. But this gives me an opportunity now, knowing what my tags are, to really get into archery hunting shape. So, been getting the weighted backpack on and been doing a lot of hiking around the neighborhood. I'm hopefully going to get up to the mountain range and do a couple hikes with a couple of friends. In terms of biking, you know, there's more trails and paths and areas in the state that have opened up now, which is good. On the camping side of things, the same thing. You know, around Oregon and in Washington, the state park system has slowly been opening places up. So probably in about a month, things will have improved a little bit more and more places will be open. But again, call ahead and make sure that areas are available. And if they're not, you know, go book ahead of time because the places that are open will probably be booked up pretty quickly.
Dude, this is so much fun and hilarious. Come on, just enjoy this right now. Just enjoy this.
So looking ahead for the month of July. Now the weather in June, we've had a really cool and wet, rainy June. So what does that mean for July? Well, we don't know. We could have a really cooler summer this year here in the Northwest in Oregon and Washington, and things could remain as is, which might be good for the Chinook bite. Might be worth going out and trying to do some bank fishing for some Chinook or some summer steelhead. But if the water gets pretty warm, that bite might turn off pretty quickly. And at that point, probably I'll be sticking to fishing for trout, maybe doing a little bit of clamming, and then probably a lot of hiking and shooting my bow are probably the things that I would be getting after. The cooler weather's also allowed me to do some running, which has been good to get in shape for archery season. So those 5 things are probably the things that I'm going to focus in on. Again, it's probably going to be very weather dependent on how July looks, but July's the month to get out there and do stuff. And you know, there's still fish around. There's still plenty of opportunities to go clamming, camping, hiking, biking, whatever. You know, the weather's getting better here in the Northwest, so that's that time for us to get out here and enjoy the outdoors. And if you're coming to visit or you're driving through, you know, take advantage of some of the open fisheries and things that we have here this summer, especially the clamming. You know, there's only so many negative tides that provide really good clamming opportunities, and the fact that we still have some pretty decent Chinook fishing, although I said earlier it was so-so. I mean, it could pick up in a heartbeat. If you're big game hunting, you're probably focusing a little bit more on archery, which is good. There's some 3D shoots and some other competition shoots that are going on, which are great opportunities to get the kids involved in the outdoors. So thank you guys for watching the June Outdoor Report. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight of what happened in June, as well as kind of what's coming up for the month of July. You know, there's plenty of opportunities to still chase some fish from the coast all the way to the east side of the state. There's clamming and crabbing opportunities. There's hiking, biking, camping opportunities to be had. So, you know, get your gear ready and get out there and enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the sunshine and the cooler temperatures that we've had in Oregon. It's a great opportunity to get the kids out there, go learn some new skill sets, and just enjoy the Pacific Northwest here in July. And thank you guys for watching the video. And as always, everybody, the outdoors is a gift. Share it with others.